All right, get this. Today we are diving deep into a book that's practically financial legend, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
A classic.
Right. But we wanted to see how his advice holds up after 20 years and, let's face it, a wild couple of decades for the economy. So we're cracking open the updated 20th anniversary edition.
And you know what's interesting?
What's that?
So many of the ideas Kiyosaki put out there, considered out there at the time, are now everyday concerns. Income inequality, retirement plans going bust,
Oh, tell me about it.
housing bubbles bursting. It's almost like he was predicting the financial mood.
Right. It's eerie.
Mhm.
And he even compares the book's launch to the Beatles' Stacey Peppers, which talk about a bold move.
Bold is an understatement.
One's this cultural phenomenon, the other.
Yeah.
Well, Kiyosaki had to self-publish initially.
He did.
Makes you wonder why those ideas were so controversial in the first place.
Because they challenged, at their core, how a lot of us were raised to think about money. Take Kiyosaki's big idea. The rich don't work for money. Now, on the surface...
That's impossible, right?
Exactly. It sounds like they're just, lounging on a beach somewhere?
Right.
But Kiyosaki's not being literal. He's trying to get you to change your perspective. He wants you to see how money can work for you, not the other way around.
And he does that through this thing he calls the cash HF flow quadrant, right?
Exactly.
Okay, break that down for us.
So he divides it into 4 groups: ways people earn income, employees, that's our E's, then the self-employed and small business owners, your S's. Then we've got our big business owners, the B's, and finally investors, the I's.
The eyes. And you know what made me really think was that story about his 2 dads, his own father, and then his friend's dad, the rich dad.
Right, 2 totally different mindsets.
Totally. Both successful in what they did, but such different approaches to money. One focused on a good job, security, the drill.
Mm-hmm.
The other, all about owning assets. It's crazy how much our upbringing shapes our views on money, even if we don't realize it.
Absolutely. And that story perfectly illustrates Kiyosaki's whole philosophy, which is it's not about how much you earn, but what your money is doing. Is it working for you, or are you constantly working for it?
Which brings us to, the heart of it, assets versus liabilities. And Kiyosaki does not hold back, especially on what most people consider their biggest asset, their house.
Yeah, most people see their house as this valuable thing they own, but Kiyosaki's argument is it's often a liability, not an asset.
Right.
Think about it, the mortgage payments, never-ending property taxes, upkeep, repairs. It's this constant drain on your money, sometimes for decades.
He's really saying people are working for their house, not the other way around.
Exactly.
But then he throws in this curveball that totally shifted my perspective.
Yeah.
He uses McDonald's as an example of real estate. McDonald's.
Right. Brilliant, isn't it?
Who knew?
He points out that McDonald's, at its core, is a real estate company. They buy up prime locations, then lease them out to franchisees. Passive income.
It's like a whole different game I never knew existed. And that's what I mean about the quadrant being so important. So when we're talking about those B's and A's, the big business owners, the investors,
They get it.
they get it. They're all about
Acquiring assets, things that generate income instead of constantly trading their hours for a paycheck.
which Kiyosaki argues is a skill set most of us were never taught. He's pretty clear that school doesn't really prepare you for the real world of money.
And he's got a point. That's why I think digging into stuff like this is so important. And he breaks down financial intelligence into 4 key skills, almost like tools you need in your kit.
All right, so hit us with those skills. First up, accounting. But that's not just for, people in suits, right?
No, not at all. This is about understanding what the numbers mean for your money. Can you analyze your own income, your expenses, assets, liabilities? That's how you make smart decisions. You're in control.
Love it. Then there's investing, which honestly sometimes feels like its own language.
It can, but at its core, it's really about making your money work for you instead of just, sitting there losing value with inflation.
So it's bigger than just, say, picking stocks.
Much bigger. You want to be exploring all these different investment vehicles, finding what matches your goals, your comfort level with risk.
Gotcha.
Then we've got understanding markets, which kind of ties into investing, but it's about seeing the bigger picture, knowing how supply and demand impact prices, whether that's stocks, real estate, heck, even coffee beans.
Connecting those dots.
Exactly. Seeing trends, cycles, then using that knowledge.
All right, now this is where it gets interesting. The last skill Kiyosaki says is crucial for financial intelligence. The law.
Yeah. It might seem a little out of left field, but it's about understanding how to use legal and tax advantages to build wealth.
So working smarter, not harder. using the system to your advantage.
You got it. And that takes us to another big theme in the book, courage. You've got to be willing to take action.
Absolutely. He's all about taking risks, calculated risks, obviously, even if it means making some mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
Like that story about his first real estate investment, a tiny house for $5,000.
Right.
Not exactly glamorous.
No, but it clearly taught him a ton. About the market, about negotiating, but also about getting over your own fear, which, honestly, that's something we can all relate to.
Oh, for sure.
That fear of failure can be paralyzing. It keeps you on this safe path, but that might not be the path to, what you could actually achieve.
And Kiyosaki even talks about how the rich dad, this super savvy guy, still had his own fears about losing money.
Of course, because fear can get anyone. It can keep you from taking those leaps.
Totally. So how do we get past that? How do we start taking action? Kiyosaki gives us those 10 steps to wake up your financial genius. Now, we probably don't have time to get to all of them, but were there a few that really jumped out at you?
Oh, yeah. Finding your why. He's big on that. And it can't just be about wanting to be rich. Got to have something deeper driving you.
Otherwise, you give up, right?
Exactly. It's what gets you through the tough times. And then there's making daily choices. It's easy to dismiss the small stuff, but he's arguing that every choice you make adds up.
So being more mindful, I guess, like, does this purchase fit my goals?
It's about realizing your financial future isn't this big dramatic thing. It's all these daily habits.
Right.
Packing your lunch instead of eating out every day, that matters. Putting aside even a small amount of money consistently, huge.
Love that. Another step I was really into was surrounding yourself with the right people.
Oh, crucial, especially with things like investing. Kiyosaki talks about finding mentors, advisors, even just peers, people who are already where you want to be financially.
So you're learning from their experience, you're building a support system.
And just as important, avoiding the opposite. The naysayers, the doubters, anyone who holds you back. Surround yourself with people who get it, who challenge you to grow.
Which kind of connects to that step about mastering of a formula, then learning a new one. Always be learning, right?
Always. The world of money is constantly changing. To stay ahead, you've got to be adaptable, open to new ideas.
Makes sense.
And then there's paying yourself first, which honestly can be one of the hardest shifts for people to make.
Oh, for sure.
It's not about being selfish. It's about prioritizing your financial well-being above pretty much everything else. Set aside that portion of your income for savings and investments before you do anything else, before bills, before fun money, all of it.
You're making your future non-negotiable.
You got it. And it changes your whole relationship with money. Instead of scarcity, you start to feel abundance. And that sense of control, that confidence, that's what Rich Dad, Poor Dad is all about.
And it's interesting, towards the end of the book, he actually says, true wealth isn't even really about money at all. It's about having control over your time, your choices. And that hit me hard.
It's freedom, right?
Yeah.
Freedom to do what you love, be with the people that matter, just live life on your terms.
It's not about the number in your account. It's about how rich your experiences are.
100%. Kiyosaki even asks, he's like, think about it. If money was no object, how would you actually spend your time? And that is such a powerful question. It gets to the heart of what really matters.
It makes you examine your priorities, for sure. And honestly, it ties into why I think this whole deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad has been so fascinating. Because we're not just talking about like financial to-dos. We're talking about shifting your whole mindset.
Challenging everything you thought you knew.
Exactly. And realizing that you can take control of your financial future.
That you have that power.
Right.
That there's a financial genius inside all of us just waiting to be unleashed.
Love that.
It's about creating a life of abundance, and not just financially, but in every sense.
Well said. So, to our listener, here's what we'll leave you with. What's your why? What are you truly passionate about? And how can you use your financial resources, however big or small, to align with those passions, to build a life that has meaning and honestly just feels good? Keep those questions in mind as you move forward. Onward. On your own financial journey. Until next time.